YouTube, it's Will from Will Development. This is my 314th weekly update. First things first, the stone video is honestly probably going to just be released pretty soon. I was waiting for some footage that I thought I was going to be getting for it. This is the world record pressing block video, I should specify. I was waiting for some footage to come through for it that I thought I would be getting, and as it turns out, I'm probably not actually going to get that footage for a while. So I've decided that it would probably be best if I just release the video, and then once I get that footage, I'll post that footage later on. Just because. So I'm going to do a little more voiceover work this weekend on it, and then probably release it next week. I'm going to drop the stone experiment video Sunday. I'm going to go ahead and schedule it up and just release it Sunday at like 1 a.m. like I do with most of my scheduled videos. And just put it out there, and then I'll probably spread it around to Starting Strongman and things like that. I know it's going to be one of those videos that's going to cause a lot of discussions, so it's not like I've been avoiding it. That would be the wrong word, but I've been anticipating it and sort of want to make sure I'm really prepared to drop that particular video. That way I can just give it the attention that it needs after it's released, and sort of answer some of the discussions that are more than likely going to be sparked by it. So, the other thing is there will be no 2 video next week. My world famous cam girl was on a little hiatus from the gym this week, so I just feel weird bothering other people for, filming for me, and it's usually so busy in there I can't really set anything up. So no training footage, but I'll talk about it now. Monday was kind of a rough day, honestly. It was a long day at work, and then when I got to the gym, I was supposed to be filling some throwing bags that had come in, and I filled them, and things didn't work out right, and the whole thing was, it's a long story, but bottom line is I didn't have a bar on my back to start squatting until almost 6:50, and normally I've moved on to my second thing by then. At least I've started doing my second thing by then, whether it's accessory work or in that case deadlifts. So I went to squat, and I was planning on doing some work around 315 area, maybe even going a little heavier, and the body and the mind just said no, and I said all right. So I went to the deadlifts, and I said let me see what I can do over here, and ended up pulling 405 for 2 sets of 4, I believe, which is a PR. I've never pulled 405 for more than 3, so that was exciting to be able to do that, especially with 2 sets, and especially with my hands. I was practicing some vehicle pull on Saturday, and when I was testing it, just had the truck hooked up and I was sort of leaning back on the rope, I felt a lot of pressure and a lot of almost like potential tearing down here. So I taped up down here, but I didn't tape up here, because I figured, it'll be fine, and I was wrong. It just ripped them right open, and I've been slowly healing ever since, and here we are, almost a week later, and they're just about good. This hand's doing a lot better. My left hand, my right hand still has a couple of open sores, but the protocol for that has just been sleeping with Band-Aids and antibacterial, like Neosporin, on them, and then throughout the day just leaving them totally open and exposed, and then I've been wearing Band-Aids and tape around them while I was at the gym. They have affected my ability to grip a little bit earlier in the week, and not so much near the end of the week. So, I was very happy to be able to deadlift like that. I couldn't do hook grip, it just wasn't happening, so I had to do those strapped. But that was cool. Tuesday, one of the guys at the gym, he's been training, he's training with me for Tampa's, so we were working together on the log incline press, which is a very interesting movement. It's one of those things where I don't really necessarily, I usually don't describe particular exercises as more difficult when they're the same sort of movement, like is a low bar back squat harder than a high bar back squat, that sort of thing. I would never describe either one as more difficult. I think they both have their unique difficulties, and they're just different. And the question always comes up. People in the gym tend to ask me because they'll see me working with the axle and they say, "Oh, is it harder or easier than the regular barbell?" And it's like, well, they both have their own challenges. The axle, even if you have had sitting on your clavicles and your head's back, it's still sitting out further than, say, a barbell would. So the center of it is a little bit further out and away from you, which adds, its own unique challenge. But generally, with an axle, the sleeves don't spin, which can be good or bad. It depends on who you ask there too. Because if you're doing, say, Olympic style, split jerking with it, it can be kind of difficult to control sometimes because the weight just kind of moves on its own. It doesn't have anything to spin to sort of dissipate that momentum, whereas, say, a barbell would. And sometimes the rotation of the plates is challenging for some people, benching with a bar that tends not to spin at all, some people could argue is easier than one that does have a lot of spin. So it's one of those things, and the same thing applies here with this log press. It's not more difficult, it's just different. And the actual press of it is not the part that's really sort of challenging me. The clean is definitely the challenging part for me. Although tonight I did a lot of sets with low volume, and by, I think, like set 2 or 3, I was finally able to, okay, this is where I need to have my start for the clean to be as easy as possible. And then from there, I want to work on being able to just viper it up for that first rep. That way I can make sure I get that first one nice and easy, because that first rep's the hardest one. Because once that first one's up, you get your stretch reflex out of it. So it's one of those things. It's just something to work on. But it was cool training with him. I was able to go a little bit heavier because I had somebody pushing me. And it's always a good thing. And then some accessory work after that, too. And then Thursday was squats and deadlifts again. Squats went way better. Ended up doing 2 sets of 2 with 315, and they were looking very good. Was able to keep the tension where I wanted to keep it and all that kind of stuff, and there was no pain anywhere. 315 felt more like what 315 should feel like in my head, you know what I mean? So that felt good. And then deadlifts, pulled 2 singles at 425. That's what I worked up to. And that's awesome because that was my old PR. So before that was like maximum, and then now I've pulled it for 2 singles, and I probably could have done another, but I said, just back it off a little bit, and we'll do a little more volume next week in the 390, 400 range, and then we'll go from there. Excuse me. And then tonight, log work again. Like I said, ton of sets, very low volume per set, but total volume was quite a bit, especially with the weight I was using. And like I said, the press isn't that challenging. It's a little bit challenging, but it's nothing crazy. The clean is definitely the hardest part of it for me. And like I said, by like set 2 or 3, the clean was feeling a lot better. So hopefully I can carry that sort of momentum into next week. And with the clean being easier, I'll be able to work in a little more weight too, because that's holding me back, the fact that the clean is so challenging. So that's it. That was my week. I want to keep this one a little bit short because I know last week was a really long update. So I'm trying to keep this one under 10 minutes, and I'll see what I can do. I've only got one more thing to talk about, and that's tomorrow. I'm going to be going to check out the Highland Games going on in Ormond Beach, which is approximately an hour away from me. Not too bad of a drive. I actually drive there for work quite a bit throughout the year. Not this exact location, but that I go to that city a lot for work. And so it'll be exciting to see some like professional Highland Games athletes go and do this, as well as some people I know from another local gym out there competing and supporting them too. That'll be cool. And of course I'll be wearing a Will Development shirt and a kilt because when in Rome, right? So that's that. So what's the key of the week? Right. Honestly, I've said it before and I'll say it 100 times more, I'm sure. Sometimes you have bad days. Sometimes you have bad weeks. Sometimes even months. This is not the Friends theme song. But that doesn't mean you stop. Consistency is always going to win. Being consistent for 10 years is going to be way better than going super hard for 4 years, burning out, and then at the end of 10 years, you're actually weaker than the guy who was just nice and consistent, just baby stepping it for 10 years. So just because you have a few bad sessions doesn't mean anything. Stick to it. You'll get past it. And if you don't, then what's your excuse?